Hey gang, just to let you know, you can now use the promo code MTGMudsta, all caps, at flipsidegaming.com and originalmagicart.store. Using the code gets you 10% off orders $10 or more, and you get to help out the channel at the same time. I hope you're ready for some new faces and some new decks. This week, I am taking my Mistform Ultimates deck out for another spin, keeping 2 Islands, Ghost Quarter, Riptide Laboratory, Shapesharer, Mind Stone, and a Phantasmal Image. Sam, who's new to the channel, is playing his Lazav the Multifarious and keeps 2 Swamps, Rexiel, Drowned Catacomb, Trickbind, Phyrexian Obliterator, and an Island. Vincent, who you'll remember, is playing his Neheb deck, and he keeps a Swamp, Soul Ring, Fellhide Spiritbender, Mountain, Taurian Mauler, Command Tower, and Mirror of the Forebearers. Lastly, we have Mark playing his Feldon deck, and he keeps a Great Furnace, a Mountain, a Darksteel Colossus, a Tally the Primal Storm, Mog Fanatic, Wormcoil Engine, and a Steel Hellkite. Vincent wins the die roll, and he starts us off. Vincent plays a Mountain, and he casts Soul Ring. He then taps a Soul Ring to cast a Mirror of the Forebearer. As it comes in, he names Minotaur and passes. Sam plays a tapped Drowned Catacomb, and he passes to me. I play an Island, and I pass. Mark plays a Great Furnace, and we see a turn 1 Mog Fanatic. Vincent plays a Command Tower, and we see a turn 2 Taurian Mauler. Sam plays an Island, and pays 2 to cast Lazav. This has the Taurian Mauler gain a +1/+1 counter, but we miss the Survey 1 trigger, but we do catch it later on. I play a Riptide Laboratory as my land for turn, and I tap out to cast a Mind Stone. At this point, Sam realizes he should Surveil 1, and he bins the island from the top of his library, and Vincent gains another +1/+1 counter for his Mauler. Mark plays a Mountain, and he casts Lightning Greaves. He swings the Fanatic at me for 1, and he passes. Vincent realizes he should have another counter on his Mauler, and he then starts his turn. Vincent plays an Unclaimed Territories, naming Minotaurs as it comes in, and he brings out Neheb. He thinks about swinging, but decides against it and passes to Sam. Sam plays a Swamp for his turn, and he transmutes a Dimir Infiltrator. He goes and finds something that has the same converted mana cost, and he finds Key to the City, putting it to his hand. I play an Island for my turn, and I pass to Mark. Mark casts a Faithless Looting in his main phase, drawing 2 and discarding a Wormcoil Engine and a Scuttling Doom Engine. He then casts a Pyrite Spellbomb, and he passes to Vincent. In his first main phase, we see Vincent cast a Fellhide Spiritbinder, and he plays a Swamp. He moves to combat, and he realizes the +1/+1 counters on his Mauler might as well be a die of shame for how many triggers he's missed. He swings Neheb at me, and the Mauler at Mark. With no blockers declared, he then casts an Ignorant Bliss before the damage step, and exiles his hand until the end of turn. This fulfills Neheb's requirements for his pump ability, and I take 4 commander damage, while Mark takes 7 damage. Everyone then has to discard because of Neheb's connecting with the player, and Sam and Mark are okay with this, as they're playing graveyard-themed decks, but I'm sad to see my Shapesharer go. At the end of his turn, Vincent returns his hand from exile, and he draws a card. Sam plays a Bojuka Bog, and he targets Mark with it, as there can only be 1 graveyard deck at this table. Sam then casts Key to the City, and then pays 1 to cast an Elixir of Immortality. At the end of his turn, I cast Fact or Fiction, and Sam has to make 2 piles. Vincent catches this trigger, and he adds another counter to his Mauler. I take the pile with an Island, Merfolk Sovereign, and Distant Melody. I play an Island for my turn, and I cast Merfolk Sovereign. I then pay 2 to cast a Phantasmal Image, and have it come in as a copy of the Taurian Mauler. Vincent remembers his trigger this time, and he adds 2 more +1/+1 counters. Mark is stuck on 2 lands, but is thankfully able to cast an Iron Mirror to help him get back on track. This gives both copies of the Mauler a +1/+1 counter, and Mark then passes. Vincent plays a Swamp, and he pays 2 to cast a Metallic Mimic. This gives my Mauler a counter, and once it enters, Vincent names a Goat. Well, no, Minotaur. He then casts a Fanatic of Mogus, which upon entering, gains a +1/+1 counter from the Mimic, and we count up Vincent's Devotion to Red, which is 4. This has the Fanatic deal 4 to all of his opponents, and he has the Mirror become a copy of the Fanatic. I realize too late that I've missed the Mauler trigger, and Sam offers to make something unblockable if Vincent doesn't attack him. Moving to combat, Vincent swings Neheb and the Mauler at me, the Fellhide at Mark, and the mirrored copy of Fanatic at Sam. Sam, despite being attacked, still activates his Key to make the Mauler unblockable, and he discards Rexiel. I take 15, 4 of which is Commander, while Mark takes 5 and Sam takes 6. We all then have to discard a card because of Neheb hitting a player, and he passes to Sam. Sam plays a Swamp, and he taps his Key to make Lazav unblockable, discarding an Ebonblade Reaper. Sam then moves to combat, swinging Lazav at Vincent, and after attackers are declared, he pays 3 to have Lazav's ability activate and become a copy of the Reaper. Vincent takes 1, and then loses half of his life rounded up, and drops to 19. With nothing else, Sam passes to me. For my turn, I swing my Mauler at Vincent for 5, who takes it. I then cast a Distant Melody in my second main phase, naming Merfolk as the spell resolves, and I draw 2 cards. I then play an island for my turn, and I pass. Mark plays a mountain for his turn and brings out his commander, Feldon. I add another +1/+1 counter to my Mauler, and Mark then gears up Feldon with the Greaves. He cracks his Spellbomb to draw a card, and Vincent puts a counter on his copy of the Mauler before Mark passes. Vincent untaps and pays 2 for his Fellhide Spiritbinder's trigger. This allows him to put a copy of the Fanatic of Mogus onto the field, and his opponents take another 4 damage. The token also gains a +1/+1 counter from the Mimic, and has haste because of the Fellhide's ability. Vincent then draws for turn, and he plays a Drownyard Temple as his land for turn. He swings almost everything at Sam, with the Mimic going at Mark. We count up the damage, and I decide that I need help, so I keep Sam around by casting a Cyclonic Rift to bounce the Taurian Mauler back to Vincent's hand. Vincent adds the +1/+1 counter to the Mauler from my Cyclonic Rift cast, and then bounces it back to his hand. Everyone then takes the damage, and we all have to discard a card from our hand because of Neheb hitting a player. Mark discards a Darksteel Colossus, which upon entering his graveyard, shuffles itself back into his library. Sam untaps for his turn, and asks if anyone has any instants or sorceries in their graveyard. He doesn't find anything interesting, and he taps his key to the city, discarding Command Tower, to make Lazav unblockable once more. He swings Lazav at Vincent, which has Sam lose half of his life rounded up because it's still a copy of the Ebonblade Reaper. Lazav then connects, dealing 1 to Vincent, and then has Vincent halve his life as well, and Vincent drops to 6. With nothing else, Sam passes to me. I cast a Marrow Harbinger in my main phase, which lets me go and find a Merfolk and put it on top of my library. I grab a Mirror Reejery and stick it on top. I then cast Swiftfoot Boots and stick them onto my newly cast Harbinger. Moving to combat, I swing everything at Vincent. Before leaving the attacker step, Vincent has his mirror become a copy of his Fanatic and blocks my Mauler. He still takes 5 points of damage and drops to 1. Mark, wanting to feel like he's in the game, sacrifices his Mog Fanatic at the end of the combat step to deal 1 to Vincent and take him out of the game. Mark draws for turn and plays a mountain. He thinks about who he should attack, but is concerned by Sam's ability to gain some life thanks to his Elixir of Immortality. Mark decides to evoke an Ingot Chewer and uses the Elemental's Enter the Battlefield trigger on Sam's Elixir. Sam responds to the trigger by having Lazav become a copy of the Dimir Infiltrator, and then sacrifices the Elixir to gain 5 life and shuffle his graveyard into his library. Mark then pays 3 to activate Feldon's ability, and he brings out a hasty token copy of the Steel Hellkite. Moving to combat, he swings it at Sam to put him back to 2, and Mark then passes. Sam draws for turn, and he passes to me. I draw for my turn, and I cast my Marrow Reejery, which everyone knew about. I then cast Mistform Ultimus, which triggers the on-cast of the Reejery, allowing me to untap an island. I then tap the island, and move the Swiftfoot Boots onto my commander. Moving to combat, the Harbinger swings at Sam for lethal as it has Island Walk, and I swing my Mistform at Mark, and tap the Merfolk Sovereign to give it unblockable. Before damage is dealt though, Sam taps his key to discard Looter Il Core, and gives my Sovereign unblockable as well, just for the laughs. Mark draws for his turn, and he activates Feldon to make a token copy of this Hellkite. He swings it at me, and pays 2 mana to give it +1/+0, and deals 6 damage to me. I play an island for my turn, and I count up my damage. I realize I have enough to take out Mark, and I crack my Mind Stone to draw a card. Moving to combat, I swing everything at Mark, who takes the hit, and I win the game. Game review time. So once again, I was pretty happy with how Mistform performed. The deck is tribal everything, but it is heavily skewed towards Merfolk. That is, until things like Arcane Adaptation hit the field, in which case everything becomes whatever I want it to be. I am considering running cards like Cackling Counterpart and the new copy spell from Guilds of Ravnica, because oftentimes when a board wipe hits, I'm not able to get the creatures back, so at least having flashback and being able to use from the graveyard would allow me some flexibility. This was actually the second game I ever played with Sam, the first being when he played his Gorthama all-devouring deck, which was super spicy and really cool. So it came as no surprise to me when he started dumping some pretty spicy cards with his Lazav deck. And can we just address how crazy a 2-drop commander is with Surveil 1? Oof, so good. I'm also a big fan of Key to the City, so props to Sam. Vincent, as always, loves to play his Rakdos decks, and his Neheb the Worthy deck is the only one I've ever seen, and my goodness is it aggressive. He's really tinkered with it since the last time we saw it, and I love cards like Ignorant Bliss, which you'd never see outside of this deck, being so useful and almost being an anthem effect in this kind of style. Unfortunately for Mark, this was not his game. He missed a ton of land drops, and he wasn't really able to use Feldon effectively since Sam exiled his graveyard. He wasn't completely out of it though, since he did manage to kill Vincent, not to mention trying to get some revenge on Sam by attempting to blow up his Elixir of Immortality, forcing him to use it at an inopportune time. Please be sure to tune in every Monday and Thursday at 11 AM Eastern Standard Time for a guaranteed new video. You can also follow me on Twitter at MTGMudsta. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/mtgmudsta. And lastly, you can check me out when I stream at twitch.tv/mtgmudsta. This video is brought to you in support by my patrons. If you're looking for a way to help out the channel, please be sure to visit the link below. Thank you all for watching this video, and don't forget, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.